Hey, welcome back to another edition of Cook! Don't be lazy! So my last video, Shepherd's Pie, I was talking about home comfort food. And I got to thinking about making another home comfort food. So today we're going to make something that I started making about 15 years ago as well. It's, I don't know what to call it. All I know is that it's got 3 ingredients: chicken, broccoli, and pasta. So we're going to call it chicken broccoli pasta. So let's get to it. We're going to start off with our chicken breast. This solution right here, we're brining the chicken. I've had the chicken brining for about an hour. It's water with salt, and what that does, it allows gives the chicken a little extra flavor. So brine your chicken. I'm using chicken breast. I'm sorry, yeah, chicken breast. Brine your chicken for at least an hour. I'm gonna pat it dry just a little bit. Actually, let me rinse off my hands because I'm about to grab the seasonings. We're going to use 3 seasonings. If you watch my other videos that deal with chicken, it's pretty much the same process. We're going to use Sazon, some Creole Seasoning. The more you put, the spicier it'll be. And the Green Label Complete Seasoning. I think they've got a orange label, green label. I always get the green label. I don't know why. So I'm just gonna get this chicken seasoned. Both sides, and then we gotta slap it on the stove. So I've got some butter heating up in a pan. It's set to medium high, about medium high. Now that the pan is hot, I'm gonna put my chicken down. And the trick to perfect chicken is to flip it just once. Let it cook for 5-6 minutes, depending on the thickness of your chicken. 5-6 minutes, flip it, let it cook another 5-6 minutes. Turn the stove off, take your chicken off, let your chicken rest for a few minutes so that it can reabsorb the juices. So, since we've got 5 minutes, let me see the time. Since we've got 5 minutes for this to fry up on this side, let's start on our pasta and broccoli. We need broccoli florets. Don't get the cut broccoli. The cut broccoli is pretty much the stems of the broccoli. I don't like that. So get broccoli florets, not cut broccoli. Big difference. You get cut broccoli, you're going to end up with a lot of this piece right here versus a lot of the floret part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to steam some broccoli. I've got this pot back here with some water. And I'm going to put this little steaming container to lift up the broccoli above the water line. I'm going to put some frozen broccoli. Now everything I make, it's not always 100% fresh per se. I don't mind using frozen products. I actually prefer frozen broccoli with this recipe over fresh broccoli, and I'll explain in a second. I've got my stove on this back burner on almost high. I got to turn on this the front burner. Penne Pasta, Penne Regatta, Penna, I don't know how you call it. Penny, Pasta. Anyways, you get the hint. You get the idea. Season your water. And throw in your pasta. The box says cook it to the instructions of the box. Box says cook it for about 11 minutes. So it's going to sit there for about 11 minutes. The broccoli is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to steam. So just cover it up, let the steam do its job. By the way, I do have, I say this because I do have a couple of college students and or college-bound students who don't know too much about cooking. And I don't want to see them make the mistakes, some of the mistakes that I've made over the years growing up and learning how to cook. So if it sounds condescending when I say certain things, that's the reason why. I just want to make sure that I cover the basis for some of these, for this younger generations who I know are watching my videos, just to make sure they don't make mistakes. By the way, what I'm getting to is, after handling your raw chicken, wash your hands. It's important to wash your hands. You don't want to cross-contaminate your poultry with your cooking utensils or your counter. So make sure you wash your hands before moving on to the next step. If you don't wash your hands, you risk the chance of salmonella poisoning and or poisoning someone else and or promoting bacteria growth. So wash your hands, wash your utensils after handling raw poultry. Chicken. So it's been about 6 minutes. I'm going to flip my chicken over. Chicken's looking good. Wait another 5-6 minutes and that chicken's done. So it's time to take the chicken off the stove. It's been about 5 minutes or so, but I'm going to spend a few seconds to go back to that point that I was talking about broccoli. The reason I like to use frozen broccoli is because over the years I've learned when I've cooked for the young ones, young at the time, is they preferred the mushier, softer texture of broccoli versus fresh broccoli, which is, after you steam it, it still maintains a harder texture. So I've kind of grown used to the softer texture of frozen broccoli when it's steamed. So it's just personal preference, what I've gotten used to. Let me take off the chicken. It's been about 6 minutes. I'm going to put it on a cutting board. And I'm going to let it rest. You start cutting into the chicken, it's going to dry up pretty fast on you. So let the chicken rest. And let's start working on the getting the pasta out of here. Once your pasta is al dente, meaning cooked but firm in a sense, you need to strain the water out of it. And then go ahead and put your pot back on the stove. So I ended up finding real butter. I had no idea I had real butter. So I'm going to throw a stick of real butter into the pot. And we're going to put our steamed broccoli into our pot. Now the reason the broccoli is going in there first is because I want to get that butter on the broccoli. I want the broccoli to absorb that butter. I don't want the broccoli to be kind of flavorless. So yeah, we're using a lot of butter. This recipe calls for a lot of butter. Now mind you, the pot is still hot because this is the pot that I use for the pasta. I've already turned the stove off. Let me turn off the back stove. But I've already turned the front stove off, the front burner, because I don't really need to cook anything anymore. It's hot enough with the broccoli added into it where everything's going to just, the butter's going to melt. So now that the broccoli is saturated with our butter, I'm not too worried about the butter melting completely. Just going to add some more salt. Actually, it doesn't matter if you add the salt now because we're going to add salt here in a minute. Add your pasta back in, your drained pasta. And again, with the heat from the pasta, it's going to melt that butter real fast. We want to stir it up, try to get some of that butter flavor on the pasta. And actually now we can add our salt. Salt to taste. That's all I can say. You know what? I'll do some pepper. I forgot sometimes I do pepper. Salt and pepper to taste. Stir it up. Get that butter everywhere. And let's cut up our chicken so we can add our chicken in here. Cut your chicken into small pieces. These need to be kind of like bite-sized pieces. Chicken is perfectly cooked. And then we're just going to throw our chicken back into the pasta mix. Give it a stir. And there we have our chicken pasta broccoli. Chicken, pasta, broccoli with lots of butter. Great combination. I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe. I put up a video every week. In the meantime, cook. Don't be lazy.